right, scholars, so we are back for part 2 of the Trunchbull chapter. So what we read last is that Miss Honey went into the Trunchbull's office, right, the very scary headmistress, and Miss Honey wanted to talk to the Trunchbull about Matilda, right, and about how great of a student she is. But we learned that Miss Trunchbull first talked to Matilda's father, and Matilda's father, as we've read before, is not very fond of Matilda, right? He doesn't have a big heart for her. They're very mean to her. So the Trunchbull thinks Matilda is a very bad student. She thinks she puts a stink bomb in her desk and all of these things. So she's saying, I need to squash that student like a bug. But we know that Matilda is not a bad student, right? So Miss Honey has been defending Matilda, and we're going to read about the rest of the conversation between Miss Honey and the Trunchbull. All right, let's keep going. I am never mistaken, Miss Honey, but headmistress, the child only arrived in school this morning and came straight to the classroom. Don't argue with me, for heaven's sake, woman. This little brute Matilda, or whatever her name is, has stink bombed my study. There's no doubt about it. Thank you for suggesting it. But I didn't suggest it, headmistress. Of course you did. Now what is it you want, Miss Honey? Why are you wasting my time? I came to talk to you about Matilda, headmistress. I have extraordinary things to report about the child. May I please tell you what happened in class just now? I suppose she set fire to your skirt and scorched your knickers, Miss Trunchbull snorted. No, no, Miss Honey cried out. Matilda is a genius. At the mention of this word, Miss Trunchbull's face turned purple, and her whole body seemed to swell up like a bullfrog's. A genius, she shouted. What piffle is this that you're talking about, madam? You must be out of your mind. I have her father's word for it that the child is a gangster. Her father is wrong, headmistress. Don't be a twerp, Miss Honey. You have met the little beast for only half an hour, and her father has known her all her life. But Miss Honey was determined to have her say, and she now began to describe some of the amazing things Matilda had done with arithmetic. Arithmetic is numbers and mathematics. So she's learned a few tables by heart, has she, Miss Trunchbull barked? My dear woman, that doesn't make her a genius, it makes her a parrot. But headmistress, she can read. So can I, Miss Trunchbull snapped. As you can see, she's very angry and just not having it, not listening. It is my opinion, Miss Honey said, this is Miss Honey, that Matilda should be taken out of my form and placed immediately in the top form with the 11-year-olds. Your question for today is, your first question, why do you think Miss Honey wants Matilda to be put with the 11-year-olds? Why do you think Miss Honey wants Matilda to be put with the 11-year-olds, right? We know that Matilda is little, she's 5 years old in kindergarten. And being in a class with 11-year-olds, that's kind of intimidating, right? So why would you think Miss Honey would want her to switch up classes? Ha, snorted Miss Trunchbull. So you want to get rid of her, do you? So you can't handle her? So now you want to unload her on the wretched Miss Plimsoll in the top from where she will cause even more chaos. No, no, cried Miss Honey, that is not my reason at all. Oh, yes, it is, shouted Miss Trunchbull, and I can see right through your little plot, madam, and my answer is no. Matilda stays where she is, and it is up to you to see that she behaves herself. But headmistress, please, not another word, shouted Miss Trunchbull, and in any case, I have a rule in this school that all children remain in their own age groups regardless of ability. Great Scott, I'm not having a little 5-year-old brigand sitting with the senior girls and boys in the top form. Whoever heard such of a thing? Miss Honey stood there, helpless before this great red-necked giant. There was a lot more she would like to have said. She knew it was useless. She said softly, Very well then, it's up to you, Miss Headmistress. You're darn right it's up to me, Miss Trunchbull bellowed, and don't forget, madam, that we are dealing here with a little viper who put a stink bomb under my desk. She did not do that, Miss Headmistress. Of course she did. Of course she did it, Miss Trunchbull boomed, and I'll tell you what, I wish to heavens I was still allowed to use the birchen belt as I did in the good old days. I'd have roasted Matilda's bottom for her so she couldn't sit down for a month. Miss Honey turned and walked out of the study feeling depressed, but by no means defeated. I am going to do something about this child, she told herself. I don't know what it will be, but I shall find a way to help her in the end. So that was Miss Honey right there, right at the end. Why or how do you think Miss Honey reacted to being turned down by the Trunchbull? So Miss Honey asked the Trunchbull if she could have Matilda in the class with the 11-year-olds, right? But Miss Trunchbull said, no, we're gonna have her in the kindergarten class. How did Miss Honey react to Miss Trunchbull saying no? How did she react to being turned down? And the second part of this question, why do you think she's so determined to help Matilda? Right here, this last paragraph, Miss Honey turned and walked out of the study feeling depressed but by no means defeated. She was just yelled at by Miss Trunchbull this whole time. She couldn't even have her say. But why do you think she's so determined to help Matilda? Okay, so that's your second question for today. Make sure to fill it out on a piece of paper on the Google form and send it in so that we can clarify anything you need. If you have any questions, fill out the big idea for this chapter. And I hope you guys enjoyed this read aloud. Make sure to tune in next week for more Matilda. Bye guys, miss you.